Hi, this is Wanda Kerr for Rug Cookie Magazine's Color to Dye For dyeing articles. It's my column and I'm excited to demonstrate to you the point method. I've already done step one of the method because it takes a little while and I just want to show you the most exciting part. So the first step is you put 2 inches of water in a frying pan. You can do it on the stove. You add your dye and you put your wool in, but you try to reserve some out so that you have white showing and some light spots. I chose to use yellow, and now I'm just going to put whatever dyes I want in there. So here we go. I'm going to add some bottle green, and here's what I do. I get my chopstick or whatever you want to use. I'm using a 1/4 inch dowel right now, and you wet it, and I take off the excess water and I put it in my dry dye, and I carefully decide where I want to put it. And I just make a little circle in that area. And just to distribute the colors evenly, I usually do it in at least a couple of places. Now, as per my article, you could see that there are some times when I choose to deliberately sort of paint the wool to be suitable for a certain object, such as an apple or a pear. It's a really great way to dye for fruit, or even a sky if you wanted to, or a sunset, because the dyes more or less stay where you put them, as you can see. Between each color, you wait for it to take up. Now, I always go back and stir because depending on what's in the dye, sometimes you'll get little speckles. I'm a bit of a fan of them, but you want to keep going back and stirring those areas till you feel that the dye is dissolved. Now, I'm going to rush through this because normally you would wait for the dye to take up. But I'm not going to wait for that right now. And I'm also going to do something highly improbable, which is add somewhat of an opposite color to this mixture. And you don't really have to worry about it because things sort of stay where they are, because I'm not stirring or pushing around the whole amount of wool. So this was red violet I just put on there, and previous to that it was bottle green. Got to be careful not to put my wet stick in my dry dye, so I try to scrape a little bit of the water off of it. So 2 things just happened here. I've got a bubble, which I don't want, so I'll push it out, but you have to be careful that the steam doesn't get you. And I also dropped some dye as I carted it over top. So here's the interesting thing. I just stirred in the drop that I let fall on the wool. So you can see this is quite red violet, but over here it's quite orange. So it's really beautiful what happens with these color combinations. So now I'm going to look over here and see what other color I might want to add. I think blue. Now blue does not dissolve all that well, and I'm really going to have to stir wherever I put it in. And you want to keep this in mind, that this is what happens. Now you can see most of its blueness disappeared, but I can enhance that by adding more blue and make it blue. And if I want to keep it blue, I'll hold it up above there and just let it take in that way. But you can see what happens over here as it starts to go into these other colors. You get just the most wonderful magic. I'm going to add blue over here too. I have lots of recipes for this point method on the welcome mat and on my blog wandaworks.ca. Now let's look for another color. Oh, I think I'll put one more blue spot. I usually do add it in 3s. Now, if I put it over here by the orange section, I'm going to get some gray coming up. And I always find that that's quite nice. So I'll put quite a bit here. And I think I'll put a bit in this corner too. But I want to keep this little mountain peak green, so I'm not going to let it go into the I'm not going to let it go into the water after I just said I wasn't. I tamped it in. Alright. Now there might be some areas that I feel are a little bit too high toned, or I don't care for the look of it, or maybe I want to have sort of a dull side and a bright side. So I can take a brown. Well, first what I'm going to do is, I'm always looking for this. Do I need to add more water? And the answer to that is yes. Now, adding cool water does 2 things. It allows me more time before the dye takes up, and it also lets me stir more and have more latitude to spread it around. So I'm just going to take the seal brown, I'm going to put it right in here along the side and just let some of that beautiful little business go in there. And I might do it over here on this side also, because really what I want to have happen is things be tonal. I don't mind having a few bright spots, but I don't want them to be overwhelming. So I'll sink these things down if I think that they're too showy for the rest of the wool. But you can see what a magical dye method this is. I just process this now. There's been no acid put in this to this point, so I'll add some acid, and I feel pretty content. I've got dark spots, I've got light spots, and I've got a beautiful amalgamation of color. And if you don't like this, all you have to do is just push it under a little bit, and you can see it gets toned down. Lift it back up to stop that process. So I'm going to add a little bit of citric acid, and there we go. It's all done. The point method, it's simple, it's easy, and I know you can do it. Have a great day.